Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. Well, did a couple videos recently that were surprisingly controversial. Well, one was the video about how Jonah Hill gained a bunch of weight. He's now over 300 pounds from his no-carb, low-carb diet failure. And secondly, the video I did where I tried to encourage Furious Pete to maybe just think about trying a plant-based vegan diet as he undergoes a second round fight with cancer. Well, a lot of low carbers and ketogenic diet fans wrote telling me how I got it all wrong. They're claiming, yeah, unlike Jonah's ballooning to over 300 pounds, they've lost a lot of weight, they've kept it off, they're super healthy, and all the science that I talked about is completely wrong. Well, let's take a look at it. Well, first of all, the weight loss. I'm not sure what they're saying. I agreed that on a ketogenic diet, amongst other activities that make you ill and sick, like a cocaine habit or doing chemotherapy, well, all these activities, low carb diets included, are great for losing weight because the body's sick, and that's what it does when it's not healthy. It loses weight. Well, weight loss is important. Yeah, it's hard to be healthy and be obese at the same time, but it's not all about being thin. There's way more to it than that. How healthy are you on the inside? How long do you live? So let's take a look at what the science says about longevity on a ketogenic diet.
And a meta-analysis was recently published that finally went ahead and measured the ultimate endpoint, death. And low-carb diets were associated with significantly higher risk of all-cause mortality, meaning low-carbers living a significantly shorter lifespan.
Straight up, take heed, low carbers. You are setting yourselves up to die sooner. All cause mortality. And I know you don't like what you're hearing here, and in the comments you guys just grasp at straws, getting desperate, saying, oh, well, it's Dr. Greger's fault there. He's a vegan and his research is biased. You can't trust anything he says. Well, if you didn't look at all the names of the researchers there on that study, he was not one of the researchers. He's just presenting this. These were non-vegan doctors published in an academic peer-reviewed journal, very unbiased. It was not funded by some kind of vegan industry or something like that. So, and take a look at the study. It was a meta-analysis covering 17 years and over 250,000 people. And when a study that comprehensive says low-carb diets kill, you might want to take notice. So what's going on here? Why might low-carb diets be killing people? Well, let's look at the number one cause of death. Heart disease, otherwise known as atherosclerosis, the buildup of cholesterol, fats, and other substances in your artery walls. Might low-carb diets have something to do with that?
Now we have studies that have measured the impact of low-carb diets on arteries directly. And a review of all the best studies done to date found that low-carb diets impair arterial function, as evidenced by a decrease in flow-mediated dilation, meaning low-carb diets effectively cripple people's arteries.
All right, that sounds pretty hardcore. I know you low-carbers are going to say, well, that was just one radical outlier vegan study, right?
Another study found the same thing, dietary pattern characterized by high protein and fat with low carbohydrate associated with poorer peripheral small artery function.
Those two studies are about blood flow to our limbs. How about circulation to our coronary arteries that feed our hearts? What does the science say about that?
There's only been one study ever done measuring actual blood flow to the heart muscles of people eating low-carb diets, and this is it. Dr. Richard Fleming, an accomplished nuclear cardiologist, enrolled 26 people into a comprehensive study of the effects of diet on cardiac function. Those sticking to the vegetarian diet showed a reversal of their heart disease as expected. Their partially clogged arteries literally got cleaned out. They had 20% less atherosclerotic plaque in their arteries at the end of the year than at the beginning. What happened to those who abandoned the treatment diet and switched over to the low-carb diet? Their condition significantly worsened. 40 to 50% more artery clogging at the end of the year.
Not only do we see that low-carb diets made heart patients worse, we saw that a plant-based diet made heart patients better. And I see this all the time in the literature. And a huge point I want to make, I've not seen one study ever showing that a low-carb, a meat-based diet reverses heart disease. Not one. So this should give you some pause on pursuing a low-carb diet if you want to be both thin and alive.
In 2015, Dr. Kim Williams became president of the American College of Cardiology. He was asked why he follows his own advice to eat a plant-based diet. He said, "I don't mind dying," Dr. Williams replied. "I just don't want it to be my fault."
I'm just talking about heart disease in this video. There's also America's #2 killer, cancer, which I'll save for a future video because, again, plant-based diets are looking pretty good and meat-based diets aren't looking quite as good. So we'll save that for another week or two. So leave your questions and comments down below, especially if you're a low carber. How do you disagree with the science? And just don't say because Dr. Greger's a vegan. The fact that he's vegan or not a vegan does nothing to weaken the truthfulness of the research of all the various studies I showed here. So post your justifications for continuing on a low-carb diet if you expect to live a long time. And subscribe to this channel if you're new, up here or down there, depending on what kind of computer or phone you're using. And you'll get more from me and Angie. And share this video if you got something out of it, particularly if you have a friend who's following a low-carb diet against your best wishes. So until next time, guys, unlike the low carbers, do the opposite, guys. Keep it carb, whole food plants. Well, I've made a couple videos recently which attracted the anger. And the video we did about Fierce Pete, how I encouraged him to consider trying a plant-based diet.